Stadium. Knights took on Southeast, already up 34-0 midway through the third. Jeff Brown to Darius Adams, 29-yard touchdown, 41-0, 41-6.
He's wanting some noise. No noise until the second quarter. Darrell Taylor bursts outside. A nice run for the youngster down the sideline. 23-yard run. This is going to set up a touchdown. This very touchdown here. Brandon Armstrong going 20 yards into the end zone. A big night for the Knight runners. Taylor going to come up right here with another nice run. And it's Richwoods rolling all over Springfield High, 42-7. Also in the midfield, the Knights coming in unbeaten, but Central going to threaten deep in Richwoods territory, but Richwoods defense rises to the occasion. Dan Sutter, the big hit, keep his name in mind. Richwoods with the ball. They don't get a touchdown, but they come up with a nice run here. The pitch goes to Darrell Taylor. He sets them up pretty, but no touchdown. There was one field goal. That was the only scoring on the night. It comes in the fourth quarter. Dan Sutter, a 28-yard field goal for Richwoods as the Knights win it 3-0. They are now 7-0. Over at Peoria Stadium, it's 5-1 Notre Dame. Tonight's homecoming tilt promised to be a matchup between two strong running games. And Central showed its strong ground attack on its first possession, gobbling up all but 28 seconds of the first quarter. But the drive stalled, and a 27-yard field goal failed. It turned out to be the only scoring threat of the first half. No score at intermission. The fact that the game remained relatively error-free surprises no one. But what may be surprising is the fact that the biggest play of the game was a turnover. With both teams neutralizing one another, this Central fumble loomed large. It gave Richwoods the ball at the Lions 30, their best field position of the night.
It created field position, that's right. You know, we were down there 3 times in scoring position, and it's been a long time since we've been in scoring position 3 times and only come out of it with a field goal.
They pinned us down, and then, of course, I give them great field position, and a team like Richwoods, you know, as well as they run the ball, they're eventually going to get something out of it.
Richwoods drove down inside the 5. Brandon Armstrong of the Knights was denied, however, at the 1 on a great Lion goal line stand. But when Central couldn't advance, they punted back to Richwoods. And with good field position, the Knights eventually squeezed out a field goal, the only scoring of the night. Richwoods 3, Central nothing. The game of the week. Kurt Pegler, 31 Sports.
Favorite at East Peoria tonight. Mike Hayes reports on the Raiders and the Knights from Stamper Stadium, maybe closer than some expected.
For Richwoods, the 20-7 final over East Peoria was a lot tougher earned win than one might think. The Knights led 6-0 at halftime, and the beginning of the third quarter wasn't an auspicious start. Richwoods fumbled the second half kick, and East Peoria returned the favor one play later. The Knights then began their game-winning drive on the legs of junior Darren Taylor. Taylor reeled off runs of 15 and 21 yards before scoring from 2 yards out, and Knights led 12-zip.
Championship caliber football teams have to come up when, you know, crowd and everyone's excited and whatnot, and our kids responded, you know, when things were going bad there on defense. And
things didn't go so well on D. Late in the third, East Peoria scored on a 3-play, 41-yard drive. Cliff Greer going in from 1 yard out, 12-7 Richwoods. For Richwoods, the state playoffs, that's the norm. For East Peoria, not so. This season was a special one. They've given themselves something to shoot for in the upcoming seasons. In East Peoria, this is Mike Hayes, 31 Sports, Kankakee. Nice crowd on hand on a beautiful fall day to watch Richwoods against Kankakee. Already up 3-0. Darrell Taylor takes the pitch from Jeff Brown and rambles 38 yards for the score. 10-zip Knights on this play. Still in the first quarter. Brown keeps the ball on the option and shows his speed as he breaks down the sideline to end the scoring in the first quarter. That'll make it 17-6. Knights on this 21-yard run. More of the same in the second quarter as Brandon Armstrong scores on a 3-yard run. 24-6 Richwoods at the half. The second half started off much the same as the first. Armstrong runs through a huge hole and bolts 31 yards for the score. Richwoods wins it, going away at the stadium, 38-6.
I thought for the first time this season, well, a couple other times, but totally I thought we kind of played the Richwoods ball that we like to play, ball control, and run some option and, you know, all facets of the game. And we just had the one turnover, and other than that, I thought we played the way we wanted to play.
In state playoff, the Knights hopped on their horse right away, racing out to a 17-0 lead in the first quarter, and Darrell Taylor was the workhorse of the first half. His best effort, this long touchdown run, but he later hurt his hand and didn't play much in the second half. No problem. The Knights have plenty of thoroughbreds back there, and they saddle up Brandon Armstrong, who ran for 3 touchdowns, including a 31-yarder here. The Knights get the best of Kankakee and apparently the best of themselves, too.
I thought for the first time this season, well, a couple other times, but totally I thought we kind of played the Richwoods ball that we like to play, ball control, and we run some option and, you know, all facets of the game. And we just had the one turnover, and other than that, I thought we played the way we wanted to play.
Still winning, starting with Rod Butler and his defending state champ Richwoods Knights. They were simply way too much for Kankakee yesterday afternoon. Here's Richwoods with the quarterback sack. The Knights a big improvement in round 2, and it's on to round 3.
But totally, I thought we kind of played the Richwoods ball that we like to play, ball control, and we run some option and, you know, all facets of the game. And we just had the one turnover, and other than that, I thought we played the way we wanted to play.
Hopefully Richwoods will play the way they want to play again Saturday when they host O'Fallon.
With Pekin coming on and Notre Dame now being what they are, I do think our kids understand what it's like to play Saturday to Saturday, because that happens during the regular season, because we had 3 straight games in number 6, 7, 8 where we were tied at halftime.
Yeah, it helps a lot. I mean, that we face in the playoffs, and I think that Mid-State 9 is one of the best conferences in the state, because for that reason we have Central in 4A, Pekin made it in 6A, and we're in 5A still. So I hope that we continue to have that success in the playoffs.
Several smaller schools from our area are 21-0. The Knights will play the winner of Rich East and Mount Carmel next Saturday. Richwoods' Brandon Armstrong, coming off 196 yards rushing a week ago, only gets 1 yard here, but it's a big one because it's a touchdown, and the Knights led at halftime 14-0. Second half, and O'Fallon trying to hang in there, but their quarterback, Chris Weekly, can't even hang on to the ball. Pops straight into the arms of Dan Sutter, who runs it back for a touchdown, and the defending champs move into the semifinal round with a convincing 21-0 win.
You know what I want to do? I want our kids to enjoy this game. I want them to, you know, enjoy the win. You know, the kids just beat a good football team 21-0, and I don't even want to know who we play next week for a while.
5A champ Richwoods hosted O'Fallon at Richwoods Stadium. There you get a look at Rod Butler. Brandon Armstrong here is going to barrel in from a couple of yards out. That makes it 7-0 Knights, and they played awful well today. Then in the second quarter on a key play, 3rd and 9 from the 29, Darrell Taylor, who's played so well in the playoffs all year long, goes on a 19-yard run to keep the drive alive and set up Armstrong again. 3 carries later, Armstrong scores 13-0 at the half. They go on to win it.
Seasons are long. That's the way I like them. As the coach says, we can rest in the winter. You know, give it all you got in the fall and then have a good time in the winter.
The live, Rod Butler and his defending champs hosting O'Fallon. The Knights really came to play today. First time they get the ball, it's fullback Brandon Armstrong diving in with the touchdown. 7-zip Knights. Later, they're going to call Brandon Armstrong's number again, and he's going to get another touchdown and make it 14-0 Richwoods. Now, the Knights' defense is playing oh so well. Watch them come up with a big play. Kind of a crazy highlight here. The ball pops up in the air. Linebacker Dan Sutter finds the ball. He finds the end zone. That makes it 21-0, and that is your final score. Richwoods is in the Final Four.
We've been playing good defense. We wanted to come out and keep it up. Our defensive line played real good. The front seven, they stopped them a lot.
Next Saturday, it's a real tough one. Richwoods at Chicago, Mount Carmel. In Class 4. 3 finalists. We're starting back at Normal U High with their fabulous tailback, Tad Lewis. Boy, this guy has been doing it for 3 years in Normal U High's backfield, and unfortunately his career came to an end yesterday as U High loses, but Tad Lewis had another big week. He's finalist number 1. Finalist number 2, it's the guys up front for the green and white, the Richwoods offensive line. They cleared enough holes to allow these 2 running backs right here to both gain over 100 yards. So the Richwoods offensive line as a unit is finalist number 2. Finalist number 3, well, we're heading up to Lexington for the Minutemen senior fullback right here, John Thomas. Not only did John do a nice job running the ball, 86 yards and a pair of TDs, he also had 8 tackles on defense for the Minutemen. Here are 3 finalists once again from Normal U High, Peoria, Richwoods, and Lexington to vote. Well, you simply pick up the phone, dial 698-1950. You can keep calling until 11 o'clock. That's the way it always works. And We took a few early votes, and John Thomas from Lexington leads 3-0.
Brandon Armstrong, 2 touchdowns on the day. However, the real story, the Richwoods defense, which didn't allow a point and scored 6 to boot.
Well, our defense, we've played 12 games now, and our defense has given up 4 touchdowns all season. That's, you know, before we substituted. Even with our substitutes playing in 12 games, they've only given up 8 touchdowns. So they just played marvelously. I can't say enough about defensive kids, and of course Doug Semper and Bob Easter, who have a lot to do with that too.
The Knights this Saturday travel to Mount Carmel to battle the defending 6A champs. This year, Mount Carmel competing in 5A and 1A, the matchup of the year.
The Richwoods Knights have won 26 games in a row. The Knights are definitely used to winning. However, come this Saturday, Richwoods will be an underdog as they travel to Chicago Mount Carmel.
What's the team's attitude to the fact that you guys really are supposed to lose?
You know, you can use it for a mental motivator. You know, all year, you know, we've always been favored to win. You know, now it's a little bit different. Coach will use it to motivate us a little bit better.
You know, all year long we've talked about the great tradition of Peoria Richwoods, but come Saturday that tradition won't mean a whole lot because it's the defending 5A state champ Peoria Richwoods against the defending 6A state champ Mount Carmel.
Defending 6A champion last year, and they basically stuck it right to East St. Louis. And we all know East St. Louis is a good football team, and they have, you know, quite a few football players back from that team.
You know, they got their tradition. We have a tradition. I don't know. You know, best will win, I guess.
Yeah, tradition won't mean a whole lot this Saturday because one state champion is definitely going to lose. Jim Matson, Eyewitness Sports.
Our opponent, we can't control them. So we'll just go about our usual things, and coaching this week no different than usual, and hopefully get on turf one day to practice this week and enjoy the week.
Again, the Knights, the defending 5A champs, go in 12-0.
You know, a pretty good-sized team, considerably bigger than us. It was a pretty good defense, it looks like, pretty good offense. You know, just they're tough. You know, anytime you beat a team like the East St. Louis, you got to be pretty good.
It's, how do you explain it? It's kind of almost like both teams are underdogs. I mean, who is to say that someone is the absolute best in the state in any class? So I don't really think once you get down to the final, you know, 4 people that we have left in each division, that I really don't think that's a factor. I don't think anybody goes into any of these kind of games feeling like that they are the team that's supposed to win.
Well, we are inside at the Richwoods weight room getting set to talk about tomorrow's game for the Knights, and we're thankful that we're inside because it's going to be quite cold. And I'll turn to some of the assistants. We have Doug Semper and Bob Easter with us, and these are the guys who really do a lot as far as the Richwoods success story over the last few years. And Doug, first off, how about the weather? Because that's obviously a factor in the fans' mind as they go up to watch the game, perhaps. What about preparing the kids for tomorrow?
Well, I don't know what you can do. If it's cold, it's cold. You know, you can't... You don't want to practice today out in the cold weather to try and tell them, you know, this is what it's going to be like tomorrow. You just, you know, you explain to them it's cold, and they're going to play when it's cold, and we're going to play when it's cold. So, you know, nobody has an advantage or disadvantage. It's the same for both.
You've been associated with this program for quite some time. It's been a successful program, and the defense has been a big part of that, and that's a credit to you. What do you try to do year in and year out to make this defense so successful?
Well, we'll make sure Coach Butler and Coach Easter help coaching the defense. So, you know, it's broken down into different segments through the week, and all I do is call defensive signals on game day. So, you know, if they wouldn't teach their kids properly, then the defenses wouldn't work. So, you know, you can't always say that the guy who calls the plays is the one that's the smart one and doing the job.
But there has to be something as well for the way the kids perform under this entire coaching staff. It seems like year in and year out, there's a pretty good character on the Knights team.
Well, you know, I don't know how you say it, but I know Coach Butler is very intense and Coach Easter is very intense. And, you know, that reflects the kids. You know, they get intense about it, too. And I think, you know, that's just the way we teach it, and hopefully they play that way. And luckily they have recently.
Okay. Well, good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, Coach Bob Easter's with us, too, and he deals with the lines, and I have to ask you about the fact that Mount Carmel on the roster is a lot bigger than Richwoods. That's happened in the past, though, and Richwoods has been able to win those games. How do you prepare your kids going up for a big game tomorrow?
Well, we just tell them that the proper technique should win out, and
We just feel that there's proper technique to coach against a bigger kid and a proper technique to coach against when you're playing a smaller kid.
You've been associated with this program as well for quite some time. Is there a secret to the success of Richwoods?
Kids. That's all it comes down to.
Final question, what do you have to do to win that game?
Well, I think Coach Semper, Coach Butler, we all agree we have to control it up front. You know, somehow our kids have to. I think what we have to do is we have to play the finest game we played all year up front, and then I think the rest will fall in place. If we can't do a good job against their big people up front, they'll just, you know, tear us up.
Okay. Well, thanks. Good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Bob Easter and Doug Semper, two of the guys who really make the Richwoods machine go, along with, of course, the head coach, Rod Butler, and the kids. We want to remind you that 3 other teams from the viewing area are playing tomorrow: Lexington, Princeton, and Scioto Northwestern. All the highlights coming up tomorrow night. Dave, back to you.
All right, next weekend in Normal, we will start our highlights with a historic matchup in Class 5A. The first time in state football history a defending state champ has played another defending state champ. Yep, the defending 5A state champ are Richwoods Knights up in Chicago to face defending 6A state champs Mount Carmel. The big play of the game late first half, Mount Carmel blocks the punt. They take over at the Richwoods 9-yard line. The Richwood defense held Mount Carmel to just 98 total yards. 2 of them come right here, though. Mount Carmel leads 7-0 at the half. Second half, here's Richwoods touchdown. The pretty option play to Darrell Taylor. It's 7-6. Now, this took place in the fourth quarter. It kind of looked like overtime. Unfortunately, the extra point to tie the game is blocked by Mount Carmel. Mount Carmel wins it 7-6, ending Richwoods' 26-game winning streak.
We lost the game, you know. You got to play all areas on the field. And special teams, they had a 9.5-yard drive for a touchdown, and that's what won the ball game for them.
A tough loss for the Richwoods Knights. They end their season, a fabulous season, at 12-1. In Class 3A...